Hi, I'm Vanessa. Welcome back to the Solena Global Living Podcast, where we cover real stories, real estate, and the realities of life abroad. Today, I'm interviewing my dear friend, Gloria. She is a real estate buyer specialist here in Girona. And we're going to talk about some of the key neighborhoods that you might want to consider if you are moving to the area. We'll talk about the buying process and what to look out for when shopping for real estate in Girona or really anywhere in Spain. So if you're interested in exploring this part of Spain, this is a conversation you don't want to miss. Let's dig in. Hi, Gloria. Good morning. Thanks for joining me today.
Good morning, Vanessa. A pleasure, always.
So I'm so happy to get to talk to you about Girona, one of my favorite cities. What do you think makes Girona such a special place compared to, say, the Costa Brava or living in Barcelona?
Absolutely. Living in Girona. Girona, it's a small, precious little jewel. It's a small city. It has a lot of things that a big city has, but not inconvenient or not as many as inconvenient. And you have a market, you have theater with great festival, you have music, you have cinemas, you have good schools, you have everything you need on a city and you are very close to Costa Brava and to beautiful surroundings. And it's very easy to get in and out of the city, which is very important for me and for a lot
Yes,
of people.
and from the center of the city, you can walk out into nature. You can hike up to a restaurant in the hills and hike back if that's your thing. You can cycle out from town. There's no urban sprawl. It's a compact, easy to access little city, and then you're very close to nature, just outside the borders.
Absolutely. I totally agree. That's what, for me, it's more important. So you just can be outside very easy. Like if you think on a big city like Barcelona or even a bigger city like New York or London, it takes you the entire day to get out, right? But in Girona, it's not.
So, speaking more about the lifestyle, I touched on being able to cycle out of Girona. What are some of the things that are sort of unique to Girona?
I think it's that it's very in a very good place. It's only 1 hour from Barcelona, 1 hour to France, 30 minutes to the beach, 15 minutes to the Garrocha, which is like a wild area, an hour and a half to the mountains. So you have almost everything. It has an international airport and it has train that connects you to the rest of Europe and Spain. So it's a very good location.
So, let's dig into more about the real estate market. How has the real estate market changed over, say, the last 5 years?
It really increased. I mean, Girona's, I think that the foreigners buying in Girona can make a big change, but I will say it will start at before 5 years ago. What it makes the real estate market in Girona very special, and I think it's what it needs somebody next to you when you're purchasing, like you, Vanessa, or me, like this kind of agent, is because there is no much properties to sell in Girona. It's a market very reduced and it's very kind of like difficult to find everything. And on the other hand, prices have been going up, especially in some areas because people expect a lot. But with agents like you and I, that's possible to manage. Otherwise, everything seems impossible to be sold. On the other hand, there are still opportunities, of course, and there are like beautiful places to sell. And you can buy around Girona. You can buy in the center of Girona. You can buy around Girona. Girona has all the surrounding towns nearby that they are like part of the Girona city.
Let's break down some of the different neighborhoods or areas where people might consider living. Let's start with the Barri Vell. Can you describe that area and who might be attracted to living there? And then let's move out from there because that's really the core center of
Barri Vell,
everything
okay.
that happens in
Barri Vell is
Girona.
the most beautiful part of Girona, or one of the most beautiful parts. I want the more characteristic, and it has little streets, and it has all buildings and everything. But prices are really high because it has a big demand, especially in foreign. On the other hand, you can buy that beautiful things. Some of them they don't even have an elevator, and parking it's very difficult to find If you can find something with a parking spot there, it's going to be really expensive. It's going to be a luxury. So if you want luxury, you can try that. If you want to live in between history, you can also purchase something there, not as expensive, perhaps some pied de terre or something small. And if you really want to enjoy if you, living in the city with no worries, daily worries, I will recommend Barri Vell. And on the other hand, if you need to get out because you need to get to work or you have to drive your kids to school and everything, I would recommend to check other neighborhoods which prices are not as high. Perhaps you get another kind of like building more into the 70s, 90s, even 2000 that can conform more like a easy day-to-day life.
Right. So going out from the Barri Vell, let's talk about Montjuïc. Who would be attracted to Montjuïc and what are some of the characteristics of that area?
Montjuïc is a very family neighborhood. It's beautiful. It's on the top on a hill, and most of the you either have views into the city, which are beautiful, or into the Gavarras area, which is also beautiful. And I totally will recommend it to everybody. It has a supermarket, and it has few things that are necessary: supermarket and a pharmacy and a cafeteria, and also a bus that it goes up every 5 minutes. Walking down the city, it's only 20 minutes, and it's a pleasure to just to do this walk. And also, you can choose if you want to go into the city or you want to go into the wild mountains, right? You get out in the morning and you decide. I'm going down to the city. No, I'm going into Las Gabarras and I go up to San Daniel or I go down and it's always a beautiful walk. So yeah, I'm in love with Montjuic. So what can I say?
Yeah, it's a beautiful area. And being up on that hill is so lovely. So where should we go next? What's the next neighborhood
I would
that people should
say
be aware of?
Eixample, Eixample North. Eixample North is one of the most characteristic neighborhoods for people from Girona. Usually it's buildings from the 70s up, and they are big apartments. Usually you want to buy a 3, 4 bedroom apartment. It's a place I recommend. And also it's near everything. It's a 5 minutes walk to Barri Bay, 5 minutes, 10 minutes walk to train station. It has a lot of storage where the commercial center is. You can buy, you have all the commercial stores, but also you have supermarkets, you have all the doctors, you have everything in there, you have schools. So it's very comfortable. You have the market, right? So it's a very comfortable neighborhood. And it's kind of like, it's a very nice community there. That's the second one.
Yeah.
From
Where
there,
else
which
should people be aware of? Yeah. One more. What's your next
okay,
pick? When
one
somebody
more,
says, I want
La
like
Devesa.
easy living, La
La
Devesa.
Devesa.
Okay.
La Devesa, they are buildings from the 90s. Say from the 90s, some of them they have like ground floor apartments with little patios. Some of them they have community swimming pool, and you are next to the park of La Devesa, which is one of second beautiful thing in Girona, Barri Vell Devesa, which is this amazing green area with plantains. I think they are sycamore trees, and it's a very nice. It's very nice to walk down there. It's
Yeah.
also close
And
to the center. Everything is close to the center, but the rest is very close to the center.
exactly. And I was talking to somebody yesterday who is considering living in Palau and they were looking at the map and they were thinking, I don't know, maybe that's too far from the center. And I said, oh, no, 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 no. It's a 20-minute walk. It's an easy walk. It's actually not that far. There's a pretty large area that is easily accessible by bike or like the quick little city buses or walking into the center. And you have a lot of variety in terms of large houses, apartments,
Absolutely.
townhomes, really anything you want, depending on your price, right? It's all about price and location. You can find in that area. What are some of the little satellite towns like Quart or Sant Gregori that you think people should be aware of when they're considering maybe not living in the center of Girona, but they want to be close and easy accessible to the city?
I would say like Fornés is like upper kind of like a residential town very close to Palau. Therefore, a lot of people living in Palau move into Fornés or vice versa. There is not a lot of new construction, but you can buy beautiful houses there. Quart, it's more like a middle class area, which also has like some residential areas in between Quart and Fornés. There are like amazing houses there. and Quart. It's a beautiful town with its swimming pool, a community swimming pool like for nails. Vilablareix, on the other hand, it's a town that had been constructed recently, a lot of new construction, and a lot of people from Girona is moving there. It's more like it has an old center, but it's more like a suburban area, but very well connected to Girona. So you can even like walk because you don't go across any countryside area. So it's like the continuity of the city. On the
Mhm.
other hand, San Gregori, it's a beautiful town that with a lot of new construction, its own life, very nice, will recommend it too. But you can walk. I mean, you can walk, but it's a long walk.
Yeah, you need a car. It's a
You need a
separate
car
town
or use
altogether.
buses because all these little towns are very well connected. The other hand, Salra, it's perfect because it's a little town with its own nuclear and old village, and it has its art center, and it has a lot of people living there, and it has the train that takes you into Girona very easily. So towns that are connected by train are very well demanded.
Yeah. Thanks for going through that. I think it's helpful for people to think outside of just the nucleus of the city and to understand that there are beautiful little pocket communities that have their own festivals and community
Yes,
centers, and they're very much a community that you can be a part of. And if you're seeking that sort of small town community, you can have that and still be very connected to all of the amenities that
absolutely.
Girona has to
Hmm.
offer if you're not really a city person. So let's talk about pricing. So, what should somebody expect to pay per square meter in the city versus some of these little communities that are right outside? Can you give us a range?
I think that the price in Girona will be the medium. It depends of the neighborhood. It's not the same Palau and Barri Vell that Devesa or Eixample Sud, right? Or San Narcís, which is a much lower price. But I think that the medium price will be 3.5 square meter. I think that 3.7, 3.5. And in the towns around, it may be lower, but also it's like a lot of new construction and prices will be maybe for this price, what you get it's a bigger apartment with a big terrace or with community area with pool or whatsoever. So I think that the prices are lower, but what you get it's a little bit better.
Yeah. That's
It's
always the case, right? I
always the
mean, the
case.
Barri
It
Vell,
covers,
super
right?
expensive and you don't get much for the money. And then if you're willing to go out, but I think the point that I think we're both trying to drive home is you can go just a little bit out and still have access to everything and get a lot more for your money and
Of course,
still
I mean,
have access to everything.
it's not that you're driving 20 minutes to get into the city or taking a train that it's taking you like 40 minutes. No, no, it's always like 10 minutes into the city, the most.
Yeah. Yeah, and the city is great. I mean, we're getting an IKEA, which it's funny, like, there's such a buzz about the fact that we're big enough to have an IKEA, and you know, we have access to everything here. You don't have to go into the city, and the festivals in the summer, the music festivals and the community events, are just incredible. So, let's talk about finding this property. So, we've talked about the areas, the price per square footage, but also that there isn't a lot of inventory. How do you help people find their dream home in Girona?
Of course, I can go first. First of all, it's going through the ads on the Idealist and Habitaclia and everything, and try to find whatever it's in there that can get missed. But also, I collaborate with other agents, realtors or real estate agents that they can pass me information, and I also go when I know, because usually I go to get exactly what my client needs. Once I get that, I can go door by door looking for the exact property. I can walk through every neighborhood finding the property, and it works. I make sure that yeah, there are. I think you can. I mean, unless if they're realistic on their needs, but it's not right away in the market. I make everything possible to find it. Correct. And if it's not realistic, I don't even take the job. No?
Well, and I think because the carrying cost is so low in properties, if you're coming from the United States, you're used to paying taxes, insurance, community fees, and they're all quite high. So you don't really just leave a property vacant for most of the year in the States because you spend thousands and thousands of dollars to maintain it. However, here people have family homes that they can keep or not, they use it or they don't. So, if you come to them and you say, "Hey, guess what? This is what your property is worth now, and we have a buyer for it," they may be very willing to consider that. And it is quite possible to uncover properties that are just sitting there that are not
Absolutely.
actively listed on the market. So you shared something really interesting with me when you help someone do the due diligence on a property that they want to buy, specifically if it's in a building. You really do your research. So talk about help people understand what a good buyer specialist does to make sure that they know exactly what they're buying.
Besides finding, let's say that we find the property, right? Before making sure I present it into the client, I visit the property and I make sure that everything works fine. I look through the windows and I look inside and I check every corner on the community areas of the building. Once I present it and the buyer say, okay, let's go and see it, right? Okay, I want to. What I do is I send an architect first to detect things that can escape from my simple like check. So to detect humidities and to detect any other things and make that study. And then I make sure I get all the documents that I need, plus the ones that they never give you, but they should give you. And other things I do is I talk to the neighbors, I talk to the administrador de la finca, and I make sure that I know the complete photo of the building. So maybe the person who's the seller doesn't own anything to the community, everything is paid, but maybe there is a neighbor on the fourth floor that owns a lot of money. And that's something that is gonna affect you when you're buying. So I make sure that everything is well known and I present it to the buyer, not to scare him out, maybe sometimes like, but
Yep.
to make sure that they're gonna know, they know everything is gonna come along with buying, right? How it will affect them economically. And I also make sure, like when you're buying without an agent on your side, you are accepting what the other agent on the side of the seller is telling you. As I mean, it's true. So if you don't like noise in the morning because you don't like to have a school near, probably he's not going to tell you because first he will not know and he's going to try to dismiss it to make sure you're buying anyway, right? So what I'll do is make sure that if you tell me I can't handle schools, then I will walk around because I think that 500 meters around your property, it's something that you have to live with too. So I make sure that everything really matches. And if not, that you know that there is something there that can be a concern in the future.
Yeah.
And that's
Thank you for walking through that. And I want to highlight something that you said because for American buyers, we expect that there's an inspection process, but that's not typical here. There's a inspection that happens every 10 years to certify that the building is
yes,
habitable, but an individual inspection of the water heater and the screens and the windows and the electrical sockets and all of that isn't part
exactly.
of the standard process. And so unless you have an agent who is working on your behalf and is advocating for you and is, paying the architect to come in and really look, you just don't have access to that information. And, as a foreign buyer, you do want to have it for any buyer, but especially when you're not familiar with how things work in a new country, it's so important to have somebody on your side to navigate you through
Absolutely.
that process. Absolutely. So, how long does a typical transaction take? So, you've put in an offer, and when do you get the keys if the offer is accepted?
If there is usually if everything is correct, if you have all the documents, the if everything is prepared in advance from the moment that the offer is accepted, if you have the money in the bank, can happen in 2 3 days to go to the notary. That's because it's very easy to set it up. Once the offer is accepted, if you have done your research before. If mortgage it's needed, then it takes 2 months minimum, more or
2
less.
months minimum. Yeah.
2 months.
Yeah. Because you're at the mercy of the bank. Okay.
Mm.
What are some of the mistakes or surprises that foreign buyers run into when they're purchasing in Spain?
I can believe that some of the buyers they don't know they have to pay ETP after in a month after buying. They don't know that they have to pay a 10% or even higher when they buy. So I'm very surprised that nobody has told them, what do you need to buy? That's one thing. The other thing, it could be some expenses coming that they are not reflected on the actors of the community, but they've been talking to like we not, no, we didn't say anything because it was not signed, but now we have to fix the entire. I don't know. We have to change the elevator, so you have
Mm.
to come and pay. And another thing is that people get very seduced by places. They walk in, oh, it's beautiful, it's beautiful. And we like something with a lot of light. That hour of the day they walk in, it's the hour of the it has light. Or nobody has taken time to explain them that's because the sun, it's summer and it's there, but in winter it's going to be very dark because it's facing, I don't know.
Hmm.
So that will be another thing. And also the neighbors.
You got to know about the neighbors.
Didn't
Yes.
know it was
And
a
like,
restaurant downstairs. Why there is a restaurant downstairs and it's smelly and how that can happen, right?
right. Yeah. Or the church bells in the center in the Barri Vell. If you are situated, I had a friend who had an apartment that was right in the summer. If our windows were open, those bells every hour of the day and night just radiated through her little apartment.
Yeah, you have to
And,
accept that. That's
yeah,
something like if you're gonna live here, you're gonna have the bells ringing, and it's gonna be loud, and you have to cherish it or forget about buying, right?
exactly. That's not your area if you don't want the bells.
Correct.
Yes. So when you buy a property, you have to calculate about a 12% base of expenses on the sale price, right?
It's a 10% up to 500,000, and then it goes increasing up to 12%, I think. Mm.
Yeah, plus about
Plus the
1 to
2%
2%.
of the notary, because you have to pay the notary, you have to pay register as well. So
Right.
what
So it's
happens
important to
usually
keep in
is
mind.
when you purchase, when you go into the notary retains a part of the price, put it to use it or ask you for some extra money to do the register thing, and that's fine if you because it's recommended that the notary does the entire process. It's highly recommended, but you can use your own lawyer or do it yourself even. So what they do is like they take an amount of money, and once everything is done, they return whatever is left.
Okay, great. And so this is a little story about somebody who went directly to the listing agent, and at the end of the transaction, so she bought this house for 450, but the Castral value, the city value was at 800. There were a
Oh,
lot of
sure.
issues with the house and they negotiated it down. So when they got the tax bill, the selling agent didn't bother to clarify with them that the tax bill was going to be based on the Castral value. So the city believed that that property should have been sold for 800. That's what the tax was based on, but they only paid 450. And so they get this bill at the end of the transaction that they are absolutely not expecting. And this is something that wouldn't have happened if they had worked with an agent to
Absolutely.
support them on their side.
Absolutely. Those are the things that they can be big surprises for a buyer. And
Yeah.
usually the seller agent doesn't say anything. Because most of the time they don't even do their job. Sorry, but they don't even check that out. And I know because
Yeah.
I've been on the other side. Now I'm on the right side, but I've been on the other side. And I work with people that they don't check those things. And it makes me really crazy. That's why I'm
Yeah.
on I changed into
You to the buyer side, yes. And I'm so glad that I have you as a resource. So if anybody's thinking about buying in Girona or the surrounding areas, I'll include a link in the description where you can contact Gloria directly and she can help you navigate the buying process. And of course, if you're looking to rent in Girona, contact me directly and I can work with you as your rental specialist. Gloria, thank you so much. It was so lovely getting to talk to you. I so appreciate you sharing your insight and helping us understand some of those beautiful little pocket neighborhoods that people should be aware of when they're exploring living in Girona or the surrounding areas. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
If you enjoyed this episode of the Solena Global Living Podcast, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. I help people find their place abroad by connecting them to local, vetted, English speaking real estate experts. So whether you're looking to buy in Girona or Sevilla, I have an agent who can help you make your dream a reality. All you have to do is reach out and I'll connect you. Until next time, keep traveling, keep exploring, and keep living the life you dream about.